In this lecture, we are going to start with the internal factors of perceptual selectivity. Expectations are related with the state of anticipation of a particular behavior from a person. We perceive what we expect. Inner needs response disposition means person's tendency to perceive familiar stimuli rather than unfamiliar ones. Response salience. It is a set of person's own cognitive predisposition. So a particular problem in an organization may be viewed as a marketing problem by marketing manager, a financial problem by accounting people, and human relation problem by personal people. The reason for this process lies in the background of people for which they are trained. Perceptual defense refers to the screening of those elements which create conflict and threatening situation in people. They may even perceive other factors to be present that are not a part of the stimulus situation. Beliefs. A fact is conceived not on what it is, but a person believes to be. An idea self-censors his intake of communication so as to shield his beliefs and practices from attack. An individual seeks out communications which support his belief and practices. Internal factors. Learning affects set by creating an expectancy to perceive in a certain manner. Motivation. Example, worker who has a strong need for affiliation walks into the lunchroom. The table where several co-workers are sitting tends to be perceived, and the empty table or the one where a single person is sitting tends to get no attention. Personality. Example, young managers complain about the old guard resisting change and using rules and paperwork as ends in themselves. Next comes the external factors. Intensity. More intense the external stimulus, the more likely it is to be perceived. A loud noise, strong odor, or bright light will be noticed more than a soft sound, weak odor, or dim light. Size. Larger the object, more likely it will be perceived. Example, in advertising, a full-page spread is more attention getting than a few lines in the classified section. Repetition. Repeated external stimulus is more attention getting than a single one. This principle partially explains why supervisors have to give directions over and over again for even the simplest of the tasks. Motion. People will pay more attention to moving objects in the field of vision than they will to stationary objects. Advertisers capitalize on this principle by creating signs that incorporate moving parts. Novelty and familiarity. New objects or events in a familiar setting or familiar objects or events in a new setting will draw the attention of the perceiver. Job rotation is an example of this principle. Contrast. External stimuli which stand out against the background or which are not what people are expecting will receive their attention. Now comes the factors which are going to influence the perception. First is perceiver, target, and situation. When we talk about perceiver, the person who is perceiving, there are different factors. First is personality. People tend to perceive others more accurately when they are more like the ones that they are perceiving than if they are different from those who are being perceived. This will influence the different behavior or person concerned. Mental set. It is a tendency one has to react in a certain way to give a situation. Example, a runner take off at once when he hears go command after the preparatory command of get ready, get set, because he is already set and ready to get the command. In organizational setting, people have tendency to perceive about others on the basis of this mental set, which causes misperception. Attribution. It refers to how a person tries to understand the behavior or events by interpreting them as caused by certain factors. Example, if the failure of subordinate is perceived to be caused by external factors on which the subordinate does not have any control, the manager may meet him as capable and trustworthy, as against the reason of failure is attributed to the subordinate. In the latter case, the subordinate may be treated as ineffective and irresponsible. Shortcuts in judging others: selective perception, halo effect, contrast effects, projection, stereotyping. Halo effect is what? The person is perceived on the basis of one trait or event. A general impression, which is favorable or unfavorable, is used by judges to evaluate several specific traits. The halo in such a case serves as a screen, keeping the perceiver away from actually seeing traits he is judging. Stereotyping: it refers to a tendency to perceive another person as belonging to a single class or category. Common stereotyped groups include managers, supervisors, minorities, women, etc. There is a consensus about the traits possessed by the members of these categories, but in the reality, there is often a discrepancy between the agreed on trait of each category and the actual traits of the members. Next is target, the person perceived. Status: a person having high status may be perceived to have many desirable qualities. Visibility of traits: these are many traits which are not visible on surface, such as honesty, loyalty, etc. In such cases, evaluation is tend to be made on basis of one's own experience, which may not be correct. Closeness among people provides opportunities to perceive the trait correctly. Next comes the situation. There may be a structural characteristics of the place indicating the characteristics of the person occupying it. Thus, a person is likely to be perceived by a place. Example: a person is perceived differently he meets with others in a 5-star hotel as compared to an ordinary place. In many cases, these may not reflect the true value, but may only distort people's perception that might be dealing with them. Now here comes the managerial implications of perception. Interpersonal work relationship in organizations are intended to bring about integrated behavior. Therefore, managers in the organization need to know whether or not the members share similar or at least compatible perceptions. If they do not, the perception of the organization are greater and will require that efforts are made to make perception more compatible. Misperceptions usually lead to strain and may even result in open conflict among people. Second point is selection of employees. So the organizations typically select new employees on the basis of selection tests, interviews, and reviews of the applicant's background. In many cases, much of the information is vague, and the managers are subject to many of the perceptual problems when they make the selection decision. The major areas of the problem in this case are that managers' emotional state may vary from day to day, causing unfair perception of the same applicants. There may be strong tendencies towards logical error and stereotyping, especially during initial interviews. The next is performance appraisal. This appraisal of subordinate performance is highly affected by the accuracy of managers' perception. The major areas of concern in this context are: managers may have tendency to positively evaluate some employees because they are liked or are on favored tasks or are particularly noticeable. Because of halo effects, performance evaluation will be affected adversely.